I'm Plevy from Plevy in Northern Virginia, and today we're going to talk about my travels, a passion that I've had for many years. In high school, actually in 10th grade, there was a picture of the Potala in Lhasa, Tibet, of the Dalai Lama's palace. And it was a black and white 1939 picture that I was looking at, and I was just fascinated with the picture. And it was, the caption on the picture said, "Palace on the rooftop of the world." And I looked at it and I said, I need to go there. I just felt drawn to it. This was in high school. When I was 55, I was able to fulfill my dream, and I went to Tibet, and I saw the Dalai Lama's palace, and it was everything that I wanted it to be. But I've gone horseback riding on Mongolian horses where Genghis Khan conquered the world, and I've walked where Tibetan monks have walked for thousands of years. I climbed Mount Sinai in the desert and came down the other side and saw St. Catherine's Monastery, where they have every bone of every monk that has ever lived at the monastery for the last 1,000 years. Recently, I had the opportunity to go to Kenya and then on to Tanzania and climb Mount Kilimanjaro. It was more extreme than I ever thought it would be. I actually summited twice. We summited around 3:30 in the afternoon. Then we climbed back down to crater camp in the crater of Mount Kilimanjaro. And the next morning we then summited again for our second summit. Before I left, I had a small Plevy flag made, and I carried it on my trip and carried it into Kenya and carried it up the mountain and held the flag on top of the rooftop of Africa. When I was going to climb Kilimanjaro, there was a trip that I could also add on to that, which included safari in Kenya. And I had the opportunity of flying from Nairobi to Kambi Yankanzi, which is a self-sufficient lodge and camp in a Maasai, a 400 square mile Maasai reservation. We would do what would be called a sundowner, and later on in the afternoon we would go out to the hills about several miles away, and we would hike from about 5,000 feet up to 7,000 feet. And this was Hemingway's Green Hills of Africa. And at the end, as the sun was going down, we would find a point where we could see the plains before us, and we would have a glass of wine, and we would watch the sun go down. And coming back, it would be dark out, and we were looking for game, for lions or giraffes or zebras or hyenas, whatever might be out there. We got up early and we'd go out before the sun came up, and we'd start tracking elephants in our truck until eventually we found them. We then had the opportunity of having a bush breakfast, and we had coffee and tea and eggs and cereal and toast right there in the bush, right with the elephants not more than 100 yards away. I accomplished climbing Mount Kilimanjaro, which was a lot more extreme than I thought it was ever going to be, and still trying to figure out what the meaning of that is for me, aside from the fact that I had climbed to the rooftop of Africa. There is absolutely no relationship between my passion for law and my passion for travel. I do, however, when I have the opportunity, walk into I've been to Old Bailey in London. I've been to a courtroom in Bermuda. So I do have the opportunity, and when I do have the opportunity to see how different systems of law work, I do take advantage of that. When I came back from Tanzania and climbing Mount Kilimanjaro, I came across a very telling quote by Mark Twain, and the quote is this: "Travel is fatal to prejudice, bigotry, and narrow-mindedness." And I find that so true and telling. There are a lot of people who don't have the opportunity to travel and to see how other people live. We in this country live very well. I've been to places where you could walk into a room that's as big as a closet, and that's the grocery store for a village, and there might be 2 cans of something on a shelf. I've been to a village in Kenya where the only light bulb, a single light bulb, was lit by a solar panel, and that was in one store, and there were 1,000 people living in this village. They had no electricity. You begin to get a sense of how people live, how fortunate you are, and you get a sense of wanting to give back. And I've yet to come across people who don't want to share, who don't smile at you. People love meeting you, and that's a wonderful feeling. I'm Alan Plevy, and I hope you travel well.